In March 2001, I set off from Springer Mountain, Georgia with the trail name Rice Paddy. Searching for more than just a long walk, I was looking for purpose, adventure, and a deeper understanding of myself. With every step northward, the Appalachian Trail tested my endurance, resilience, and spirit, pushing me beyond what I thought possible. Over the next 7 months, the trail not only pushed me physically, but also rewarded me with breathtaking landscapes, misty mountaintops, golden sunsets over quiet valleys, and forests alive with the sounds of nature. I found moments of deep solitude, but also forged friendships that would last a lifetime. The journey transformed me in ways I never expected, becoming one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. In a misty rain, my husband Bob and I hiked up to the official starting point, where we met up with Terry O'Brien and Leslie Scully, my first trail partners, ready to face the incredible journey ahead. We quickly learned about Georgia PUDs, pointless ups and downs. On the top of Big Cedar Mountain, we were surprised and honored to witness a wedding. 30 miles in, we reached Neal's Gap, where hikers shed weight, realizing they'd overpacked. Next came Blood Mountain, named for an Indian battle over 400 years ago. Over the next few days, the weather began to turn. By the time we reached Blue Mountain Shelter, snow was beginning to fall. In the morning, all our gear was weighed down by wet snow. We hiked out quickly and made it to a hotel in Hiawassee for the night to dry out. Back on the trail, we stepped into a winter wonderland, snow-laden trees and crisp, frozen ground underfoot. Bob left us at mile 68, and at mile 75, we finally reached the Georgia-North Carolina border. One state down, only 13 more to go. Crossing into North Carolina felt like a victory. Georgia's rugged terrain was behind us. Wyabald Stone Tower gave sweeping views of the Nantahala National Forest, while Cheoabald revealed distant glimpses of the Smokies. At Fontana Dam, I spent the night at the famous Fontana Hilton Shelter, enjoying rare trail luxuries before stepping into the Great Smoky Mountains. Fenced-in shelters reminded us of the park's thriving bear population. Before climbing Max Patch Bald, Two-Stepper and L'escargot introduced us to trail magic, unexpected kindness from strangers. The generosity of trail angels made the journey unforgettable. I met the legendary Barefoot Sisters, Iris and Jackrabbit, who had hiked the entire AT southbound barefoot and were now yo-yoing back north. Their determination was inspiring. A fierce snowstorm hit as we climbed Rowan Mountain, forcing us to shelter in Over Mountain Shelter, a converted barn. By morning, snow-covered peaks stretched before us, breathtaking in the dawn light. Kincora Hiking Hostel, run by Bob and Pat Peoples, provided a warm and welcoming stop. As we neared Virginia, signs of spring emerged, budding trees and blooming wildflowers, signaling a new season ahead. Reaching Damascus, Virginia, felt like stepping into a hiker's paradise. I checked into the Lazy Fox B&B, where Bob surprised me with vegan meals from Cleveland, lovingly prepared by a friend. Bob had arranged to transfer his car to Front Royal so he could hike with me through the Grayson Highlands. The highlands were stunning, rolling meadows, rocky outcrops, and of course the famous wild ponies. Seeing them up close was a highlight of the journey. At Partnership Shelter, renowned for its pizza delivery service, Terry and Turtle challenged each other to a pizza eat-off. Who could eat the most pizzas in 1 hour? Final winner, Terry! Further along, I stopped at Woods Hole Hostel, an 1880s chestnut log cabin lovingly restored by Tilly and Roy Wood. Their home-cooked meals and peaceful setting made it one of the most special places on the trail. Then came McAfee Knob, one of the most photographed spots on the AT. Standing on its iconic ledge, I felt on top of the world. Continuing past Tinker Cliffs, Virginia's rugged beauty unfolded before me, each step bringing new challenges, new rewards, and an even deeper connection to the trail. Then came a welcome change of pace in Shenandoah National Park. The trail softened, winding through lush forests and open meadows filled with wildlife. Terry left to return to Island for a wedding, and Bob rejoined again. We continued hiking through fern-covered forest floors, and at Pinnacle Mountain were treated to a magnificent sunset. Following the mountain ridges, we paralleled the Blue Ridge Parkway, stopping at scenic overlooks to take in the spectacular vistas. Spring had finally arrived, and the trail was transforming. Wild azaleas bloomed in bright pinks and purples, creating tunnels along the trail. But Virginia had one last challenge in store. Just before the state line, I faced the roller coaster, a brutal stretch of steep, rocky, back-to-back climbs and descents. Crossing the Shenandoah River and stepping into Harper's Ferry felt like a milestone, the psychological midpoint of the Appalachian Trail. What an incredible sense of accomplishment. We spent 2 days soaking in the history of this charming town. Bob said his goodbyes, but we welcomed Debbie Snook, a Cleveland reporter covering my journey, and my dear friend Sue Brown. After some well-earned rest, we crossed the Potomac River, heading north through Maryland, then onward to the Pennsylvania border, ready for the challenges ahead. Leaving the Blue Mountains behind, Pennsylvania's terrain became more forgiving. Along the way, we reached a major milestone, the official halfway marker of the Appalachian Trail. With towns closer to the trail, my fellow hikers took full advantage of easy food access. Pizza became a daily ritual, but as we continued north, Pennsylvania revealed its tougher side, the infamous Rocksylvania. Suddenly, every step required careful footing over sharp, uneven stones. It was the roughest stretch yet, but luckily I had my son Kevin and his friend Jason joining me for this section. Hiking with Kevin made the challenge more fun, and his presence lifted my spirits. And then came Naked Hiking Day, a quirky trail tradition on the first day of summer. While I opted out, Kevin discreetly took part. Leaving Delaware Water Gap, the trail in New Jersey unfolded with a mix of rugged ridges, scenic lakes, and historic landmarks. The views from Sunrise Mountain were breathtaking, stretching far across the state. At Pochuck Creek, we walked along a mile-long boardwalk winding through peaceful marshlands. Our next challenge was the infamous Lemon Squeezer, a narrow rock formation that forced us to twist and shimmy through tight passages. We hiked through Bear Mountain Harriman State Park, one of New York's largest protected areas. After crossing the Hudson River, we finally reached the Connecticut border, ready for the next chapter of the journey. Crossing into Connecticut, the trail followed rolling hills and winding rivers, offering a peaceful change of pace. At Rand's View, an open meadow framed by distant mountains, we paused to take in it all. Soon we climbed Bear Mountain, the highest peak in Connecticut, where the early morning mist rose like a curtain revealing the valley below. The Housatonic River Walk led us along a rare flat stretch, its gentle current a soothing companion. Massachusetts brought even greater rewards. Mount Everett tested our endurance with steep, rocky ascents. But the real prize was Mount Greylock, the state's highest point. With every step, we were edging closer to the wilds of Vermont. Vermont's stretch of the Appalachian Trail is known as the Green Tunnel, as it winds through lush forests, rolling hills, and picturesque farmlands. We passed through the charming town of Manchester and climbed to breathtaking views atop Stratton Mountain, where the very idea for the Appalachian Trail was born. Wildflowers were in bloom along the trail, and friendly locals welcomed us. This peaceful, wooded environment made Vermont one of the many highlights along my journey of discovery. Our first stop in New Hampshire was Hanover, the home of Dartmouth College. But my real excitement was for what lay ahead, the White Mountains. This was a section I had been both anxious and eager to take on. The challenges here were real, but so were the rewards. Bob rejoined me as we entered the heart of the Whites, testing our resolve like never before. Steep climbs, exposed ridges, and unpredictable weather. But we loved every minute of it. One of the biggest highlights was hiking along Franconia Ridge. Walking above the tree line, surrounded by endless sky, I felt like I was on top of the world. From Mount Jackson, I could look back at Crawford Notch and ahead toward Pinkham Notch. It was like seeing my journey laid out before me. A storm rolled in just as we reached Lake of the Clouds hut. It made the moment even more dramatic. That night, we were lucky enough to stay in the lodge, sleeping on cafeteria tables in exchange for doing dishes in the morning. Reaching the top of Mount Washington was unforgettable. The views were spectacular, and watching the cog railway chug up the mountain, it felt like we were standing at the top of New England. But getting down, that was a battle. Steep, wet, slippery, and the winds were relentless. It felt like the mountains were making sure I earned my way forward. At night in Gorham, at the Liberty House B&B, was a welcome break before climbing up to Carter Dome, where we caught another beautiful sunset. Crossing into Maine was an incredible feeling. Katahdin was finally within reach, but Maine wasn't letting me finish without a challenge. A few days in, we faced Mahoosic Notch, the toughest mile on the Appalachian Trail, climbing over, under, and through massive boulders, squeezing through tight passages. Then Maine's beauty took over. Climbing Wayman and Elephant Mountains, I gazed at Moose Look McGuntick Lake stretching to the horizon. We passed countless still ponds, some reflecting the sky like mirrors, others where moose waited, unfazed by our presence. Near Stratton, I hit another milestone, the 2,000-mile mark. In the clear, disaster struck. I felt I had broken my arm. Chuck and Stan Sayre, two incredible friends, flew me to Cleveland for treatment. 4 weeks later, Bob and I returned to the exact spot where I left off. We paddled across the Kennebec River and hiked through forests ablaze in fall colors. Reds, oranges, and yellows surrounded us, reflecting off still ponds like fiery mirrors. Then the moment I had been waiting for, my first glimpse of Katahdin, rising in the distance. We took a 0 day at White House Landing, soaking in the peace before the final push. Reaching Abol Bridge, we stood in awe of Katahdin, framed against a clear sky. That night at Katahdin Stream Campground, we were joined by Debbie Snook, a Plain Dealer reporter, and her photographer Josh, who would document my final climb. At dawn, we began our ascent. Every step felt momentous. The climb was steep and relentless, but I didn't care. I was so close. And then there it was, the Katahdin sign, the finish line. I reached out, running my fingers over the weathered wood as emotions flooded through me. Joy, relief, exhaustion, pride. The trail had given me more than I ever expected. Peace, perspective, and a renewed faith in people. After 2,168 miles, I knew one thing for sure. This journey would stay with me forever.